for an update in relation to the work of the MICA panel, which was established to look into the extent of the problem in terms of MICA-affected blocks, which are leading to many homes having cracks in walls and indeed very severe structural problems. And the progress in relation to that panel so far, Minister, and also what the deadline is going to be for when it should report, and also, Minister, an update in relation to the Government's plans for a redress scheme to assist homeowners following on from that report to actually fix their homes. Now, at the outset, Minister, I want to thank you and acknowledge you for actually travelling to Donegal and meeting with affected homeowners. When I last raised this before the Dáil recess here in the Dáil, you committed to doing that, and I know you took the time out to do that, and you met with a lot of homeowners, and you saw for yourself the impact this is having, how damaging it is to the houses affected and indeed to the lives of the families who live in them. But, Minister, I do have to say that this is an issue which the Government has dragged its feet on over the course of the last 2 or 3 years. Initially, the Government dragged its feet in relation to committing to set up the expert panel to assess the problem and to report on it. And since then, Minister, since the panel was set up, it's also dragged its feet in relation to the report deadline. When initially it was set up, the deadline was the 31st of May. It was then pushed out to the end of October, and now I believe it's being pushed out to the end of this year. That's not acceptable, Minister, and I'd like an update from you in relation to that situation. Thank you.
Chair, I'll answer questions 16 and 43 because it's 43 as well. Because the expert panel on concrete blocks has met on 4 occasions since it was established in April 2016 and is continuing to receive and review the information that has been made available to it in relation to the problems that have emerged in affected homes in Donegal and Mayo. I think the accusation that is dragging its feet is a little bit unfair. It was set up in April, they were in Donegal in May, and I was there I think it was in July. The expert panel were back there again, they've been in Mayo in September. There was an offer to meet the Oireachtas members in July. Not everyone could turn up. 2 did out of the 7. Minister Joe McHugh was asked to meet the panel again. That will happen next week. So that offer was there as well. So I think the panel are doing their best and doing as quick as they possibly can. It's a major issue, and it has to be analysed properly as well. So I think it's unfair to accuse them of dragging their feet, to be honest with you, when they made themselves very available as quickly as they possibly could. A substantial volume of information has now been provided by affected homeowners in both counties as well as in Donegal and Mayo County Councils, which will be of particular assistance in completing the necessary research to inform the preparation of the panel's report. Further meetings have taken place with key stakeholders, including affected homeowners, the elected members of Donegal and Mayo County Councils who have met myself as well, local authority officials, industry bodies, and additional meetings are anticipated with other stakeholders over the months ahead. Before the panel conclude their research into the problems that have emerged in the affected homes. Ultimately, the panel's terms of reference and its aim is to establish the facts behind the problems that have emerged in Donegal and in Mayo, and to outline technical options for addressing the problems identified in order to assist affected homeowners. It is anticipated that the panel will complete their report before the end of the year. Yes, they'd like to have had it done by October, November. It might take a little bit longer, but in my view, and I've said this on many occasions when I met the homeowners in their homes, we have to get it right. And the homeowners agree with that approach. They didn't ask me to rush it. They said, please get it right and make sure the panel do their work properly. And that's what they're doing. And they're a strong panel doing good work as well. So it is anticipated that before the end of the year. I will await the outcome of that report, and myself and Minister Coveney and the Department, and we'll have the report first, and then we'll analyse where we go from there. But I think it's important, and I've had this conversation with deputies as well, it's important that they're allowed to do their work and given the space and the resources to do it, and to meet all involved. And most of the groups have tried to meet, have met with them. Some haven't, some have declined. But successfully they've managed to meet most of the stakeholders involved in this, and hopefully we'll be able to bring forward solutions as well.
Okay. Deputy McConalogue.
Yeah, thank you for your reply, Minister. You will know, having met the families, the fact that this is a pretty urgent matter for those who are affected by it, because houses continue to deteriorate as time moves on, and the cost of actually having tests conducted in individual houses is very prohibitive. It's in the range of €2,000 to €3,000. So families are waiting on these tests to be conducted by the panel. They're waiting on the expert opinion of the panel as to the nature of the problem, the extent of the problem, and also what remedies are achievable and actually can be brought to bear. They're also, of course, following on from that, Minister, awaiting the responses of the Government as to what help is going to be available, because these families will need help to address the problems in their homes. Now, the reason I'm saying, Minister, that the feet has been dragged in this is because initially it took too long to actually set up this expert panel. But when it was set up, the report deadline that was given was the 31st of May. That was then pushed out to the end of October, and in a parliamentary reply to me last week, it was pushed out, and again today pushed out to the end of this year. Now, it could be done quicker than that. It is possible to have it delivered quicker, and I would ask you, Minister, to engage with them and ensure that it's delivered by the end of the year. I might also ask you to update us in terms of what support and the number of staff that is working with the panel from your department as a secretariat. And also, finally, Minister, just if you can address the point as to the government's position at the moment in relation to the supports that will be there and available to families following on from the report to repair their homes.
Again, Chairperson, just to outline that in my own meetings and the expert panel, I met the MICA Action Group in Donegal as well as a lot of the owners in Mayo. And I want to stress, they were very clear to me. They wanted and they understood the importance of the expert panel doing the work correct and doing it right and having a report that we can use that outlines the causes and the possible solutions and remedies for this. And I can't stress that enough. And I don't want information you're working off, Deputy, that they could do their work quicker. I don't want them to do their work quicker if it's not done right. I want to have the report as quickly as possible so we can analyse it and decide what to do with it. But I wouldn't ask someone to not do their job correctly. And maybe you have some scientific reason that you think they can do it quicker than that. I'm not aware of it. But they were set up in April. They were up there in Donegal in May. Some of them had meetings. They've had numerous meetings. They're meeting again on the 17th of October. And I think they're doing the work. And we have asked them, and they have the resources to do the work as quickly as they possibly can. But a lot of homeowners wanted to meet them. They were in their houses to visit them. There were houses in both Donegal and Mayo. And local authority members, the Rockers members, the offers are there to yourself to meet them well if you want. But that's what they're doing, and they're doing their job right. And when we get the report, we will then analyse that and see what we can do with that then, and what's the best way to remedy this. Because most people you talk to, they want a solution to their house. And just to be clear, this is going back from 1999 to 2008. It predates our government, but it's an issue that's there a long, long time, and they were trying to bring forward solutions to it.
Deputy McConalogue, you have 1 minute.
Yeah, thank you, Cahir. Yeah, Minister, when I point out the dates to you, I'm simply pointing out the terms of reference which were given to the committee by your predecessor, Minister Coffey, at the outset, and that was the 31st of May. So obviously the assessment was made by your own department that it was very achievable to do it in that period of time. So I'm not picking these figures out of the air, Minister. Your own department set the deadline of the 31st of May. It then pushed that deadline out to the end of October, and it's now pushed out to the end of December. As you can understand, it's a source of great stress to families. It's eminently achievable, in my view, to have the report dealt with in the period which was provided. But certainly, at this stage, Minister, we need to ensure, and I would ask you in your good offices, to ensure that every support is given to that panel to have the work completed by the end of the year. Following on from that, Minister, then, of course, it's going to be about the level of support your department and the state can provide to the families who can't afford to fix these houses and address, and in some cases, houses are not fixable. But we, again, the panel will recommend what is possible in that regard. But just, Minister, if you could address that point in relation to, following on from the report, what support you believe you may be in a position to offer.
Thank you, Deputy Minister.
I think, Deputy, the people you represent, they recognise that we have to wait for the report before we can go to the next step forward, because there was a process here, and they've seen the process in action in other situations, and it has worked quite well. And so, when I engage with people directly, they understand what has to happen here. They're very clear on that. I'm not sure what your difficulty is with that part, but I can't. I have to wait till I get the report before we can analyse that even further. And you're right in saying that initially we hoped to have a report in May, but the panel only came together in April. So it was quite clearly then that we're not going to have a report in May. I think you will accept that yourself. I mean, no one expects magic here. So I think we have to give them enough time. And with the level of submissions, the level of detail that's come in, the reports on people's homes, they've gathered a lot of information here, a lot of data on a lot of houses. And there's over 300 members in the MICA Action Group. There's quite a number of houses affected in Mayo as well. Local authority houses 450 potentially. So there's a lot of houses involved here. So we have a lot of data, a lot of information. Probably more information have come into the expert panel than they originally envisaged, so that they have asked for a bit more time with the report. And I accept that. And I work with that. But it's not kicked out till next year or two or 3 years' time. It's an extra couple of months, which to me is okay if we get the proper analysis of the problem and the possible solutions.
Thank you, Minister.